Good morning, everybody. Welcome to the Introduction to Virtual Work Experience for Employers. We're going to get started. It is 8:32, but as Will has just said, he's going to be letting people in as they come through this morning. Before we actually get into the presentation, I wanted to give you a brief overview of what we're going to be covering this morning. I'm hoping my slides are going to click through. Please let me know if they haven't. Okay, so what we're going to provide is a variety of speakers this morning, so not just from the LEP and the Careers Hub, but also from an employer that has been delivering virtual work experience for some time now, and also our collaborative partner Speakers for Schools. So we're going to get an understanding of the programme and the process and what cycle of what we need to be doing to get ourselves in a position to deliver this at least later on in the year. Once we've summarised everything, we're then going to open up the floor for questions. And I should remind you that actually we're being recorded. So if you're not too fussed with your face being on video, then please close your cameras. And also to remind you that to mute your mics as we go throughout. Okay, so by form of introduction, I'm Sarah Denham. I'm one of the skills team at the Solent Net, working with the Solent Careers Hub. We also have Siobhan Flynn, who is our Programme Manager for Employment and Skills. We will be hearing from Maggie Stefaniak, who is the Skills Coordinator for Morgan Sindall, and Dawn Ray, who is the Regional Lead for the South East from Speakers for Schools. So first off, I would like to introduce my colleague Siobhan Flynn.
Good morning. Thank you for your time this morning. Before we sort of get into the detail, I just thought it would be really useful to just visit the reasons why we as a Solent LEP get involved in, matching businesses with schools and getting that conversation and that interaction going. And it's really quite simple at a very top level. It's because we need young people to be motivated and inspired to find out about and obtain and have fantastic careers in the Solent and understand the wealth of job opportunities that exist for them. So what we need and what we know, we do quite a lot of research, and I won't go into all the details, but what we do know is things like, because of the key messages around work experience, is that most jobs are going to come from people leaving the economy, and those jobs are changing, and things like issues like the need for higher skills is a ongoing requirement, and this is why we think work experience is a really good way to get some of these key messages around and over to schools and to young people. The evidence suggests that young people getting involved in work experience really has some very long-term benefits. It reduces the risk of them not being in education and employment. It improves their school performance. And also for businesses, you are getting to influence your pipeline of young people to get them to understand the types of skills and the types of jobs that you have on offer. So I'm going to leave it there because I don't want to sort of labour the point too much, but I just thought it was really useful just to set the scene to say, look, from a strategic perspective, sorry, I put the tea back in, it's really, really important. The economy needs our young people to be inspired and to have the skills that our businesses need. So that's why we do it. Over to you then, Sarah, I think, to introduce the meet. Thank you.
Thank you, Siobhan. So just to follow on from Siobhan's introduction, I want to give you a bit of an understanding of why we're doing this. So back last year, we were approached by the Careers Enterprise Company, as were other South Coast LEPs and Careers Hubs, and asked whether we would deliver a virtual work experience programme. Very mindful that not all schools offer virtual work experience. Some of our schools were actually in a position to roll it out for the first time last year, but as a result of the pandemic, everything went kaput, and here we are now. Whereas other schools are very, very keen. And actually, I'd like to quote one for us today, who said, "The ability to supply any kind of work experience this year is more important than ever due to the dearth of encounters caused by COVID." And I think that's just quite, that resonates, and so that actually, yes, schools are closed to the majority of students, but actually there is still a full curriculum being delivered in schools. So it's very difficult to try and incorporate careers within that. But we all know that actually the benefits of work experience for young people are really, really important. You know, for young people to get an insight to a particular job or explore a particular sector, you know, is really valuable to that young person. And to be able to participate in activities or project work, to develop those key skills, communication, team building, and general confidence, whether engaging with local employers, is really, really important to us. And now more than ever, some of the conversations we've had, so some of our maritime colleagues and construction colleagues, the technology will enable us to visit those areas and those job roles that we haven't been able to do before due to health and safety, be that on the dock side, be it a crane driver, be it operating some large mechanical vehicles. You know, these options and opportunities are opening up for us, and let's see what we can do. And that paramount to us is being local, so our local schools and our local employers, and developing those virtual opportunities. And Dawn will talk a bit more about the various opportunities that we can work on with you. And ultimately, we're developing the local skills to match local need, and ultimately building your talent pipeline. And this is why we want to work with you on it. Now, initially, we were planning to deliver the virtual work experience in March, but second lockdown, obviously, we cannot do that. So we're now looking to the summer term. We're looking for the first week in May, and there is a bank holiday on the Monday. So we're looking between the 4th and the 7th of May, and we'll talk a bit more about that in a moment. But now I'd like to introduce our first speaker, so Maggie Stefaniak from Morgan Sindall. Maggie, can I ask you to give us a bit of perspective from how you've been coping with virtual work experience?
Of course, excuse me. Thank you, Sarah. Thank you, everybody, for having me here. I'm very happy to share my experiences. I'm a skills coordinator on the M27 Smart Motorway Upgrade project. Please don't be upset with me. We nearly finished. We started this project back in 2019, and we are due to finish this year. Part of my job is to meet certain KPIs set up by CITB, National Skills Academy for Construction. And one of the KPIs is school engagement and participating, organizing and leading career information and guidance events. Prior to pandemic, we were going very strong. We ran quite a few open days and recruitment days together with local authorities and local schools and colleges and universities. When the pandemic hit, we had to adapt very quickly. And what we decided to do is not to give up and cancel the events we already had lined up. We decided to test different platforms. So my very first work experience delivered remotely was actually on Teams back in March. And that was a tough going. We only had one student, and that wasn't viable at all. We had 15 experts lined up for one person, and the guy milked it, I must admit. He had attention from every single expert, and his feedback after the event was that he was not only he improved his employability skills, but also learned so much. And he said career in construction is his career of choice moving forward, which really pleased me. However, we started thinking how to make it more viable and not to waste our speakers' time, and how to reach more people. So the second work experience we ran was on Zoom. That was another platform I tested, and because I was using a free version, it wasn't good at all. We had two attendees at that point, and again, was good, but not as good as it could have been. And then by coincidence, my colleague from Morgan Sindall in East recommended Speakers for Schools, and she introduced me to one of the colleagues from Speakers for Schools, and that was a moment that changed everything for me. I must admit, it was godsend. Everything started falling into places. We managed to run our very first work experience with Speakers for Schools in June. We had 20 students from across the South, which was something I didn't expect. but pleased me very much. What I also noticed, we managed to interest students with various mobility issues and people that would never participate in face-to-face work experience. I've noticed a lot of students have confidence issues, and they don't like talking to strangers, but attending a work experience placement of that kind from your own bedroom, you know, talking to the computer is completely different dynamic for them, and I can see how willingly they participate in every single activity I throw at them. And I'm cruel. I make the whole week very interactive for them, and I make them work really hard. But we have fantastic results. Not only we meet all the KPIs very quickly, but what I see is the development of the students, how quickly their confidence grow, how the knowledge of the industry grows, and how interested they are, and they think outside the box. I must admit, they are very creative, and what they give me and my colleagues is boost of confidence that the future is actually bright. You know, we hear in the media that young generation have no idea what the future should be like for them. The adult life, it's something they don't really understand. But I can tell you right now, after working with over 60 students, the future is bright. And it's, I think, thanks to Speakers for Schools and ability to reach to those students, and working very hard in the background, doing all the admin stuff for me, because I just deliver the program. I just log in the morning, I talk to students, I tell them what I'm expecting from them, what we're gonna be doing all week. And Speakers for Schools do everything else in the background, from advertisements to recruitment to safeguarding, and making sure they understand the code of conduct for us. So there are so many benefits of work experience, virtual work experience, for both employer, students and schools. What I think I need to mention to you, that by setting up this program, we helped schools and career advisors meet their Gatsby benchmarks 5, 6, and 4, 5, and 6. 4 is we managed to link the curriculum with the program. So we always emphasize the fact that if they have to learn maths, because that would help them if they go for this job role or this job role or this job role. The same with design, for example. We got a session with digital engineering and design people, and again they learn how to link the art. If they doing art as a subject, they link that straight away to our operations. Benchmark 5 is the encounter with employers, and like I said, normally I set up 15 experts from different disciplines. Sometimes I invite professional organizations representatives to talk about professional route into industry, and that is very beneficial for them, definitely for both sides, students and my colleagues. And benchmark 6 is the experience of the workplace. I've got quite a few videos. I showed students what the office looked like before the lockdown, because unfortunately I can't bring them to the compound right now, but I've got lots of videos I managed to record just before the lockdown, by coincidence. So I showed them that, and they can see those people in a Google platform, and they can talk to them as well after that. So it's quite eye-opening for them, and the feedback I'm getting is very, very positive. And I think just to add to my speech, when we compare employability skills of every single attendee, I can see almost 30% of increase in their employability skills. And we're talking communication skills, we're talking working in a team, influencing others, motivating others. It's incredible. It's incredible how quickly they develop. And because the work experience through with Speakers for Schools is done on a very secure platform. I never had any situation when I had to tell them off. For example, you know, sometimes students can be disruptive. They are not like that at all. For some reason, they really respond well to this virtual environment, and they are happy to participate in anything you give them to do. Have I covered everything?
I think you have. I'm very impressed with your knowledge of the benchmarks. I think we could also throw in their benchmark 2. So that's learning from labour market information. So we're learning about our local employers, which obviously you are. It's absolutely fantastic. And as you say, you know, the move in technology, and I think the students working at on virtual platforms at school and now with employers as well, I think, you know, this is the way to go forward, obviously, for the moment, for the meantime. So it's great to hear your perspective as an employer and how you found that. So that's really interesting. And I'm sure, and I hope that there will be some questions being posted in the chat.
I hope so. I'm happy to answer them all.
That's wonderful, thank you. Okay, so now we have Dawn Ray from Speakers for Schools. Welcome, Dawn. It's lovely to see you again, as ever. I will flick over to your first slide. You're on mute, Dawn.
Good morning, everybody. Yes, I don't want to assume that everybody knows who Speakers for Schools is, so I'm just going to spend a little bit of time just giving you a bit of background and overview of who we are and what we're all about. So if Sarah, you could move to next slide for me, that'd be great. Okay, so Speakers for Schools has been going since 2010, and it's actually the baby of political editor Robert Peston, who most people will have seen recently grilling the Prime Minister at 5 o'clock most days. But back in the day, he wanted to do something to give people, young people, particularly those from disadvantaged situations, an opportunity to have a better understanding of what it was about in terms of the world of careers, I guess, in short. Speakers for Schools, the name, is what it was all about when it started. He was providing speakers to go into schools from his black book of contacts, and that's evolved over the years to adding different services, one of them being work experience. Our chairman is Andrew Law, and he is somebody who we are very fortunate to have the backing of, someone in the city. What that means in terms of his input, particularly financially, is he gives us a very secure opportunity to go out to schools and offer them the opportunity and speak, and for employers largely too, to actually participate in this service at no cost to them. I just wanted to kind of put a few facts up, really, just to kind of back up the position and kind of build on what Sarah has been saying. The work experience proposition, particularly where we're coming from as an organisation, is about levelling that playing field and giving those young people the opportunity to have as much of a good chance as those perhaps from a bit more of a privileged background and those going to independent schools, who are typically seen to be those that end up with the leading positions in the world of work. And actually, we found through our experience of running these programs that quite often on the work experience, it's those young people that come from the disadvantaged backgrounds who will have greater need are the ones that are actually most successful through a work experience program. With regards to the volume of work experience that we're going through, because we are a national provider, we are doing approximately just shy of 5,000 engagements over the last year. And actually that's growing by the day. COVID has obviously done an awful lot for pushing the focus towards virtual work experience. And we are driving on at a pace to try and meet demand. So whilst we're a national organisation, and in fact we are a charity, we are working with large providers like Morgan Sindall nationally, but we're also driving local focus, and that's very much my responsibility. So with regards to work experience, Speakers for Schools has broadly been offering two outlets: Insight Days, which is, as it says, it's a day which kind of gives students the opportunity to get an insight into the industry, the sector, that employer, or longer work experience placements. Now, obviously, before COVID, we were able to do that in person, and most people would say there's no substitute for in-person work experience. However, virtual work experience has done some different things. It's basically broadened the reach and the scope, both for young people and for employers. For young people, they can have access to employers that they probably would never have dreamt of having a work experience opportunity with before. And for employers, again, they have access to reaching young people that in a geography that perhaps they had never envisaged doing so before. And with regards to it being virtually, whilst there is often some resistance about the security and does it work, does it have the same feel, I think the thing not to forget is young people are very tech savvy, and actually going into this kind of environment is not an obstacle. With regards to work experience, we are now therefore still offering the Insight Days and the deep dive placements, but we're doing them both virtually. And we are working with the Solent LEP to deliver both of these opportunities throughout the region. Sarah? Thank you. So in terms of the programme, just building on what Sarah kind of outlined, is the aim of the programme that we're working with the LEP in the context of a broader pilot is to raise brand awareness and career opportunity awareness for all the participating employers that come on board. And as touched on already, this is a good way to support recruitment and CSR strategies. And actually Maggie referenced that broadly in her talk a bit earlier. It's about inspiring young people to a variety of industry sectors and career paths, but it's also using the skills and enthusiasm of the staff within those employers to actually raise aspirations and enthuse young people into those different career paths. A side benefit is that you might already, as an employer, have volunteers in your organisation that are STEM ambassadors, and their participation on this kind of programme would actually count towards their hours serving as STEM ambassadors on that programme. At a general level, it widens participation for education outreach. And obviously this kind of programme also supports the LEP, who are working with employers like yourselves, delivering skills priorities objectives across the region. So the programme that we wanted to talk to you about today, that we're developing a pilot on, is to offer a work experience opportunity for students in the year 10 across a number of Solent schools. We're looking ideally to bring on board at this stage between 10 and 12 employers. They could be national brands, but have mostly have local operations, so that we can instill that local awareness and that local bond. We are looking to run this during the first week of May, which is the bank holiday week. So the work experience would take place between Tuesday and Friday of that week. And we're looking for employers to consider delivering an Insight Day and or a 3-day more deep dive work experience. And if you'd like to do both, then that would be fantastic. But we want to give you the option to consider. All of the work experience that we deliver online is typically delivered through the core school hours of 9 to 3. There are a few exceptions to the rule, but largely we like to stick to the school timetable. And as a broad guideline, people say, how many people can we have on a work experience? There are no hard and fast rules. It really shouldn't be less than 6, and that's a safeguarding concern. But really, to make it manageable in any classroom environment, we would sort of say, aim for about 30. It's a good manageable size, and it still gives you the opportunity to create smaller groups from that larger group. So I just wanted to kind of put up what could be a typical Insight Day. These times are not fixed times because every school is slightly different, but broadly, we would work with employers to have a general pattern of activity that follows what a normal school timetable would follow. So starting about 9 o'clock in the morning, and perhaps the morning might be a combination of an induction into the industry, broadening out to the employer themselves, a bit of a getting to know you interaction with the students. I think what's important to note here with work experience is we are very much advocating this is work experience. This is an experience delivered to an individual. This is not a talk to a class en masse. And the way that is developed and the way that is underpinned is that we ask for every student that participates to have access to their own screen so that they can interact on a personal level. It also is an opportunity on an insight day to bring in perhaps a keynote speaker from your organisation. Now, that could be the CEO talking about his career path, or equally, it could be a high-flying apprentice that talks about their experience from leaving school through the apprenticeship programme. There's an opportunity perhaps to bring in people from different departments to dispel the myths about just thinking that your industry may only represent one kind of job type, but also then you could build in some interactive activity with smaller breakout groups that might be a bit more project related in the afternoon. Now, with regards to that layout, although it's not a fixed layout, that broadly gives a structure for how actually a more detailed, deep dive, multi-day work experience can be built on. With those, typically more time is spent understanding different departments, different job roles, more detailed project work, and quite often employers build into that some work about CV work and interview workshops with particular emphasis on the skills that they would be recruiting for particular jobs. So in terms of working with Speakers for School, as been touched on, everything is delivered online, and we have a tried and tested process that we go through to make it a success and to support our employers' journey. We work with employers to help develop what we would guide as a good quality work experience, and to help you understand the processes working with us to make that a reality. With regards to the opportunities, we can help you promote those opportunities to your target audience, and we can highlight on those work opportunities the types of students or the ages that you would particularly be wanting to reach. Obviously, for this pilot, we've already decided on year 10, but that is an opportunity that that can happen on a broader opportunity. Your work experience is listed on our portal, which I'm going to come on to in a moment, as an advertisement, so that students can actually see what that opportunity is all about and decide whether they want to apply for it. And the applications are checked by the school before coming to you as an employer, so that you have the opportunity to select the students on a work experience, just like you would if it was a personal work experience. There is no requirement for an employer to accept every application. You have the opportunity to accept or reject based on the criteria that you want to put down. Selected successful students will be informed, and they will be furnished with access to the work experience platform, so that you can then go and deliver that on the agreed date and time frame. So how long does this take is quite often the answer. Well, probably longer than most people like to think. And that's because if you bear in mind, you've got 3 different groups of people participating in this process. You have the employers, you have the school at a macro level, and you have the individual students. And every one of those groups is participating at different times, concurrently, simultaneously, to make this whole work. We like to start the process about 6 to 8 weeks out of the go live date. And by that, I mean, it's actually the start process here is with the employer posting their work opportunity live on our portal. There is a bit of work prior to that with an employer, which is liaising with us to help you, guide you through what makes a good work experience, help you craft that, and also undergo some training on our portal and the delivery platform. Once that opportunity is live, schools will have registered also on the platform. As a school level, it's normally the careers lead or a lead teacher will register, and they can find your opportunity. They can search and see your opportunities. They can then signpost those opportunities to students. Schools can then have the opportunity to pick out students who they may have a particular interest in your industry. They've already expressed that as part of their careers education. Students can also search because they will also register on the portal, so they have the free opportunity to look at those that are made available for them. Find one they like, they submit an application form. It's not onerous because some of the information is pulled through from their registration. But on that application form, all employers are given the opportunity to post a couple of questions to help you understand their motivation for applying for your work experience. Schools get to validate those applications before they get sent to the employer to make sure that they're appropriate and also that they are correct. Those applications come to the employer. You will then need to read them and decide if you want to accept or reject that application, and all successful applications will be notified to the young person, and they will be furnished, as I said, with the right tools to actually access your work experience. And that happens a week out prior to the work experience going live. Alongside this, there is activity that you as an employer would be doing, and that would be actually populating the platform to with the content for your work experience day or multi-day activity that might be coming up. I've put down there the date of the 12th of March under the first box, because that really is the deadline for setting this process running at the point of advertisements to go live the first week of May. In an ideal world. Thanks. I've touched on our portal a couple of times. We have a bespoke portal that we've developed in-house, and actually we're developing it and redeveloping it all the time, just to keep pace with the demand and I guess how virtual work experience is evolving, and also to make sure that our safeguarding procedures are constantly being reviewed and built on. It is ring-fenced, and Maggie's touched on this earlier, because we obviously take safeguarding very seriously, and our portal is designed to deliver work experience for young people under the age of 18. And obviously well, it's 14 to 18, because below 14, there are different safeguarding measures again. So we are making sure that we protect students and their personal information at all times, so that only the necessary information comes through to an employer. The portal provides employers, which is that middle image, with a dashboard, and I'm going to show you an example of one of those, which allows you to monitor the progress of your work experiences. And the portal is the same portal that students access, schools access, and employers access. It flows through so that a work experience application and the activity around that is all being delivered through the same portal. So none of the communication to students is done outside of that environment. So I said I'd show you a snapshot of a portal. This is what employers would see. So this is what you would see if you were part of the programme. A number of numbers there which are indicating different activities. The first number would show you how many live opportunities you have going. So if you were to run a 3-day activity and a 1-day workshop, you would have the number 2 written in that box. It would also show you how many opportunities you've operated in the past, which in this going forward, if you're new to the programme, that obviously wouldn't start getting populated until they've been and gone. The number with the purple flag is the number of actions that you as employer would have to be looking to undertake to complete. And normally that number actually is about reviewing applications. This is obviously quite a large work experience example, but that would show you how many applications you need to action. And also the number at the end would be showing you how many applications you've received in total. You can drill down into each of those boxes that provides you more detailed summary information. So on the portal, you can post your work experience opportunity. I'm going to show you a number of different snapshots of this, because it's actually a scrolling screen, which actually can become quite long. But fundamentally, you have the opportunity to show what your work experience is all about. So it's the title of your work experience, the dates it's running. Some of the content below the dates is really where you get to freeform write a description about what the work experience will entail. It has some information on the right-hand side about you as an organisation, and also some key information about the age group and some key criteria about skills. Further down that advertisement, there are a number of skills that can be highlighted in terms of what will be learned as part of that work experience. So the first column of green boxes is the skills that young person would learn. The second column shows why that work experience, or who that work experience would be of interest to. On the right hand side image, you've got 3 lines at the bottom numbered 1, 2, 3. These are the questions where you would ask questions that you want to pose as part of the application process. We encourage employers not to be too ambitious with this, as we don't want to put too many obstacles in the way of young people applying. But as I said, it's an opportunity for you to understand why that one person is interested in coming on that work experience with you as an organisation. When you drill down into the portal to have a look at the applications, you will see some top line information about the young person. I'm sorry, this is quite small and I'm not quite sure how much detail you can see, but effectively what this dashboard will show you line by line is each applicant in terms of their age, ethnicity, if they have decided to release that information, what school they go to, whether they're male or female. And one of the things that we do as an organisation is we pull in some national statistics and some of the stats that schools are prepared to share to go into an algorithm that we use to determine the need of both the school and the individual. So as an employer, if it's important for you as part of your strategy to target students or schools of greater need, this gives you the opportunity to see if those candidates sit within that box. The purple tab at the end of each line is where you can drill down into the individual application. So delivering this work experience, we used our portal to manage. We use Google Classrooms to deliver. It's our chosen platform. It's tried and tested. And as an organisation, we have access to the enterprise version for education. And we enable our employers to access the licenses to deliver that and take advantage of the full features for the purpose of the work experience. Google Meet is the functionality that allows you to engage with young people. Some employers are familiar with it, and certainly quite a lot of schools are familiar with using this, particularly as a result of the lockdown. It has a lot of strong controls in terms of hosting and gives you, the employer, the opportunity to take advantage of that. So for example, students cannot access the classroom without the password that we provide them with. They have to ask to come into the classroom. When they're in the classroom, you can effectively lock the virtual door to stop anybody hijacking and coming in that's not wanted or not invited to. Within that functionality, as well as delivering dialogue or conversations or debates with the young people, there are tools that enable you to do live polls and quizzes and idea sharing, and also to create breakout rooms. And breakout rooms prove to be very useful if throughout the work experience you want to create smaller groups and perhaps engage different areas or members of your organisation to talk about different subjects. Breakout rooms are discussionary, really. They're not so much about using the big features as you would in the main classroom, but they are a really good way of engaging with young people on a one-to-one basis or in small groups. As an employer, from us, Speakers for Schools, we will give you the host Google licenses in advance so that you can populate the classroom with the content. We create the classroom environment for you. It's down to the employers to actually create the content and populate, but we will give you guidance and support as to what makes a good experience. We provide all employers with training on Google Classrooms. We're pretty much running those on a weekly basis at the moment, so you get to understand how it works and operates. And we also provide some a written guide as a reference that you can go back and refer to. And as I said, we create the classroom for you so that you can actually not worry about the logistics so much, but actually you can focus on the creation of the content and the planning of your work experience, just like you would if someone was coming to you in person. So just by way of example of just how much this has grown and where it's kind of grabbed attention, this is just a snapshot of some of the organisations we are working with across the country. We have a number of organisations that we're working with at a very large scale. Morgan Sindall is one of those. The NHS we are working with on a very large programme. It's about 1,200 work experiences on a quarter. and we are growing this number all the time. And just because they are a national brand does not mean we can not offer a regional or local opportunity, because a lot of these national brands will have local offices, and that's obviously why some of you are here today. So from my perspective, that's really what I wanted to talk about. It was more about the practicalities of how it works, and I'm very happy to take questions. I'm sure I've thrown a lot of detail at you. This is going to be something which Sarah, I know, is going to cover a bit later, but for all employers, even if it's for you to get an insight in terms of what it's all about, you are free to register on our portal at any point in time, and we'll provide this detail as a follow-up after this session. Thanks, Sarah.
Lovely. Thank you, Dawn. That was great, and an awful lot of information. So just to summarise then for you, ladies and gentlemen, what we need from you is either 1 and ideally a 3-day programme working around the school day. So between 9 and 3, that may be adjusted slightly, and ideally a class of 30 students and a minimum of 5 for safeguarding. I think Dawn said 6 actually, so I have that wrong. So it'd be 6, minimum of 6. And remember that the students will need to meet a range of people within your organisation. And as Dawn said, that could be a high-flying apprentice up to your CEO, which would be absolutely amazing if we could get that involved. The participants will need to engage with in activity or project work, and as a result of that, gain feedback from you as an employer. So we have that two-way engagement throughout the process of the day. Okay, so an awful lot of information, as we said, not just from myself, but from Dawn and Maggie as well. And I know we've got employers on the webinar today that are also experienced in the virtual world of work experience, I should say. So I'll open the floor up to questions. Will, do we have any questions that have been posted yet, by any chance? Or I can't see everybody. I will potentially stop sharing my screen and see if we can see anybody.
Yeah, there's one question in chat.
Okay, let's have a look. Can you read it to me? I'm just trying to get to there. Okay, all right, the one I can see is, would we be able to send out a presentation afterwards? Yes, we can. We are recording it. Do you have an experience working with local authorities, Dawn? So that's from Rowan Bryant at PCC.
Can I ask in what context, as an employer?
Yes, hello, Dawn. It was basically, we have such a wide range of occupations, if you like, in a local authority. We've got responsibility for an awful lot of areas, and I was just wondering if you'd had any experience of working with a local authority and whether you targeted that to particular areas like social care or, I don't know, housing or something like that.
Yes, I believe there are local authorities that are working with us as employers, and actually the rules aren't any different, because if you take most large employers, you know, even in a construction company, you have an HR department, a marketing team, you have somebody else doing design. They're not all about bricks and mortar, and we would encourage in a work experience a cross section of those departments taking part. So as a local authority, and I've actually worked in that environment myself, yes, absolutely, you could come along as a local authority and make sure that you bring in representation from those different departments and services. You could do that, I think, in an insight day. That would be a great opportunity for you to do that, just to dispel the myths of what it's like about working for a local authority and the different opportunities therein. Because to be honest, on an insight day, there's not a lot of time to drill down into any level of detail about particular career specifics. If you wanted to do a 3-day activity, which would be fantastic, then yes, you could actually tailor that to, it could be about careers in care from within a local authority environment. Because again, young people don't necessarily associate certain careers being driven by a local authority. So I think you've got 2 ways to play it, really.
Okay, great, thank you.
Thank you. Right, next question. Are there any programs for 16 to 18 year students in further education, Dawn?
As a broad level, yes, we have, as a national provider, our work experience goes up to the age of 18, and there are employers that particularly create and target work experience for that age group. So there are no boundaries around that. That for us as a provider, schools can go on and access the broader opportunity, and there will be programs for that age group on there.
Lovely, thank you. And Julian has asked, can you give us an idea of the types of projects that are set by employers over a 3-day work experience, please?
Oh, I think that's kind of building on where I touched a little bit earlier. On a 3-day, it's much more interactive in that they tend to be crafted to build over the 3-day period. So you might actually have a project that you want young people to tackle over the 3 days, and that project, it might be solving, I don't know, it might be solving the marketing of a particular service, for example. And in order for them to do that, they would need to engage with maybe the product team to understand what the product was about, a delivery team to understand how it's delivered, but also working with a marketing department to understand the process behind that. And the young person would work either individually or with smaller groups to actually craft a solution to that challenge, come back on the final day and present it back to the larger group and the employer. Overlaying that, it would be sessions that again start to give a bit more of a deep dive, just as I was talking to Roland about with regards to the council, bringing in departments to talk much more in detail about career opportunities in that particular department, highlighting the skills they would want, linking that back to curriculum learning, you know, what qualifications you will need for this. Some employers like to spend some time working with young people, developing CVs that would help them apply for that particular industry or job. You know, one size CV does not fit all anymore. They have to be tailored. And perhaps giving some time over to coaching on interview skills. Does that help?
I hope so. No, does that help, Julian? I hope it does. Great examples. Another question from Ali. Do employers have to pay, Dawn?
No, our service is free for employers. We're on a self-service basis. What I mean by that is we provide you with the guidance to craft the content for the classrooms. We give you virtual training on our portal. We give you a virtual training on Google Classrooms. We do have employers that are working with us on a paid service where actually they want to relinquish some of the administration, and we take responsibility for that and perhaps work with them on a much more deep dive consultative basis to develop their programs and content. And in fact, you know, that's how we're working with some of the national employers on a national basis who actually want to do a large number of work experiences and a very large continuous program. It's down to the individual employer, but no, it is absolutely not a barrier to entry. You can do this for no charge.
Thank you. I thought we were nearly there. We have one more coming from Sue. So if there are several people involved in work experience, oh, hang on, it's popped up again. Sorry, it's moved. Not all of them will be based at the same location. Will Google Classroom allow several people to deliver this across different locations?
This is a lovely thing about being virtual. Because it's a virtual platform, you can be in all 4 corners of the United Kingdom and still be on the same work experience. And in fact, at a national level, when we're running work experience that is not necessarily regional, or even on some of the regional ones, you will have schools signing up to work experience, and they could be from all over the region, or all over the country, because it doesn't matter where you are. And in fact, in the work experience environment, you won't necessarily get students all from the same school on the work experience. They could come from all the schools that are participating on the programme. And actually that's a real added benefit, because it gives young people the opportunity to work with others that they wouldn't normally see on a day-to-day basis, and actually can allow people to blossom a bit more, because they don't necessarily feel those restrictions about speaking up, which quite often you can do when you're sitting in a room of peers.
Excellent, thank you. Another one, is attendance on the work experience scheme entirely voluntary for the students? I don't know if somebody from, sorry, I was going to say, does Sarah want to add anything? Because I know Sarah's students have been involved in work experience, but that could be a two-way response from Dawn and Sarah. Yeah. While Dawn takes a breath.
Dawn can drink her tea.
Yes, thank you.
Yeah, I think it has to be. I don't think you can drum into somebody they will attend a work experience, because you're not going to get the enthusiasm there. So it's going to be very much. I mean, we've pushed the Speakers for Schools half-term experience is hard, and we've had a reasonably good take-up, but that obviously is voluntary. I mean, all that we've done is said it's here. If you want to spend time and you're bored over half-term, here's a great set of opportunities. We're not twisting anybody's arm on this because that would be counterproductive.
Yeah, and I would echo that too. I mean, the whole proposition here is about trying to encourage the young people to take the initiative, and we deliver work experience across the year. We are not just targeting a couple of weeks in the summer term. It's there for anyone to take advantage of, whatever day of the week, month of the year. We actually have work experience available, and actually that's, you know, number of schools are welcoming the fact that there's the flexibility. Certainly the employers are. And it means that young people can either go through work experience as part of a school work experience program, or work experience week, 2 weeks, whatever that happens to be. But equally, because we're running work experience continuously, and it's down to the student to apply, whilst the school still has to approve the application, whatever the time frame, students can take part during school holidays on their home, when they're sitting at home. And we do get uptake for those. So I think it's kind of captured their imagination a little bit more, because young people can do work experience with organisations, as I said, in industries that they would never have dreamt of having that opportunity to do before.
Thank you. Another one popped up. I thought we're nearly at the end, and more questions keep coming, which is great. So please do keep popping them in the chat. So if this week is aimed at year 10, would there be potential for older care leavers to be involved?
Well, from my perspective, absolutely not. I mean, it's really down to, I guess, Sarah and the team at the LEP as to how they want to kind of evolve and develop their pilot programme. And equally, you could deliver a programme in your own right. I mean, the opportunities are almost limitless. So from our perspective, there are no barriers. It just depends on how we manage it within this particular pilot. But the opportunity is there, absolutely.
I think for us, this is a very steep learning curve, and I think lots will come out of both the one-day insight days and the longer work experience. So it's going to be a very interesting time. So yeah, it'd be interesting to get feedback as well from those that have already participated in some of the Speakers for Schools programmes already. There are no other questions at the moment. I wanted to ask Maggie, was there anything else you wanted to add from an employer's perspective, from what your contribution earlier? Or if anyone else does have any questions before I kind of carry on.
I just wanted to add one point from employer perspective. Somebody asked about participants or speakers from different locations. What I've noticed with my colleagues, we all work from home currently, and every single work experience really boosts people morale. People seem to really enjoy the experience. They feel part of the team, and if they can inspire younger people, the benefits for them are just enormous. And they always say to me, if you have more things like this happening, please get us involved, because we then have something to look forward. It's not only being at home on your own and occasionally attending meetings virtually. Engaging with younger people like that really gives them great satisfaction. So I would definitely recommend it. If your company works from home like my company, I would definitely add that to your weekly or monthly activities. You know, one event a month, and you can see the difference in your colleagues' behavior.
That's really interesting, Maggie. In a former life, I know I had colleagues that were adamant they didn't want to be working with young people in a classroom. So to know that there are many out there that are keen to do that, and on a virtual basis, that's really encouraging. That's fantastic. Yeah. Anybody else have any questions? No? Okay, well, I'm going to attempt to share my screen again with you, just to kind of wrap up where we're at. Please let me know if you can see my slides again. Yep, okay. So, just regarding the next steps then, as Dawn said, we need you to register at the Speakers for Schools portal. really consider your virtual offer commitment, what you have capacity for, or what you kind of think you could cope with at the moment, whether that's a 1-day or a 3-day experience. That would be fantastic. We then need to place your opportunity advert, as Dawn kind of showed you, and we can work with you, and ultimately collaborate with us at the LEP and Speakers for Schools to design your programme. But also remember, you've got your training to support you and the guidelines from Speakers for Schools. So that's your portal and your Google Classroom training. If you do have any questions, there's our contact details for myself, Siobhan and Dawn, and we can answer any questions. We have recorded this morning's session, as you know, and we will share this wider with you following the session. We finished quite ahead of time, in fact. So I know people are often happy to get half an hour back, if not an hour, but we've got just over half an hour to give back to you. And if there's no more questions, then I bid you a good day. And thank you to all of our speakers that have been involved this morning. It's been great and hopefully very informative and a lot of food for thought. So we'll be getting a lot of our local employers signed up. So thank you, everybody. And I look forward to seeing and working with you very shortly.